I wanted to pit the Nintendo Switch in a real-time battery test against all these other consoles. We've got a full selection here going right back to the original Game Boy, the Gameboy Colour, the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP, the Game Boy Micro. Going across, we've of course got the 3DS, we've got the 2DS, we've got the new 3DS, we've got a 3DS with a big battery, we've got the original DS, the DS Lite, the DSi. We've also brought in a PSP and a PS Vita, and then at the top there you've got an iPad Air, an iPad Generation 2, an iPad Mini, and a couple of iPod Touches. So there's a real range of hardware here, but each of them are going to be on their full brightness and their various connectivity all switched on, so that's Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. They're not going to be running a game, but we wanted to get an even playing field to see how these different systems compared to each other. First of the systems to die is that DSi, lasting 2 hours 41. Of course, some of these systems have been hard used in the family, which will take a toll on their batteries, but we wanted a real world test of how these things compared. You can see that original 3DS is flashing there in the middle right, and that goes at 3 hours 25. Quite close after that, that iPod Touch 2 at the top, which is a really dated iPod, very heavily used, 3 hours 39. And then soon after that, down at the bottom right, the 2DS battery is flashing red, and that dies at 3 hours 55. Quite soon after that, the GBA SP at 3:59, iPad 2 at 4, iPad Air at 4:04, the new 3DS at 4:04 as well, and the iPod Touch 3 at 4:13. So a real flurry of batteries dying there. We now have a little bit of a gap to draw breath, and then the DS Lite, you can see, is flashing red. So that takes us right round until 4 hours 51. Soon after that, we'll see the PSP go at 4 hours 56, closely followed by the GBA Micro 4:57, and then the Vita at 5:01. But then the Switch that beats all of those systems lasts until 5 hours and 12 minutes. So as we bring Mario in our little stop animation to celebrate the Switch's great performance, I think that's pretty impressive. It's got a large screen, it's doing a lot of connectivity, but it still managed to outlast all those other systems. The iPad Mini just lasts a bit longer than it, leaving that original DS still going strong right up to 6 hours and 51 minutes. Obviously the screen not as bright, but there's lots more to look at here, as well as those final timings for the Game Boy, Game Boy Colour and Game Boy Advance. So what I'm going to do is rewind this and take you back to the beginning at how we set up the test, so you can see how each of the systems is configured, and also get an introduction to the features that they each offer. As you can see, we have got a whole range of different handheld consoles. We've got tablets, we've got iPod Touches, we've got the original Game Boy, Game Boy Colour, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP, Game Boy Micro. We've got our Vita, we've got our PSP, we've got our original DS, we've got our DS Lite, we've got our DSi, 2DS, 3DS, new 3DS, and new 3DS XL with a crazy stupid battery in the back. And we're rather excited because this is a battery test for the Nintendo Switch. So we've got our Switch here, fully charged up, but what I wanted to do is to put it to the test to see how the battery life compared with the Switch between all these other consoles. Now, I guess you don't need to do this, it's a bit of an excuse to get them all out. They're all charged up, absolutely fully charged. We're going to pop some batteries in, our battery powered ones over here, and to see how long they last. We're going to have all the systems on maximum brightness, all the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth switched on, and the systems that have got an OS, have got a home screen, will be running that. These three here, they don't have that, so they'll have a game in, but they'll just be on the home screen of the game, of course. The Game Boy Micro as well, same as the Vita and the PSP. We have turned off all of the auto sleep, auto dim features that we can, and essentially seeing what the battery life is going to compare like. Now, of course, I know this Game Boy is probably going to be the one that wins because it hasn't got that backlight and it hasn't got much to do in terms of processing. So what we're going to do is get these turned on, get them started, and start our battery test. We'll pop a clock in here somewhere so you can see how the time's progressing, and then we'll have a look at the footage and see which of these systems lasted the longest. Now, I've got a Wii remote here. You may be wondering why that is. That's because a Wii remote is actually a great way to test batteries. So that was 4 flashes. So we've got these 2 Energizer batteries here. So I'm going to pop these in my Game Boy Advance. 1, 2. Now you've seen loads of battery tests like this on the channel. We've done 3 or 4. Oh, there you go. Game Boy Advance, no backlight screen, also no game. What's it doing? I want it to play this game. Is it not in properly? We've got Yoshi's Island here. Try that again. There you go. I shall turn the volume down on this because otherwise I will go crazy. So next couple of batteries for the Game Boy Colour. Now I'm popping these in here and testing them because previous battery tests, like I was saying, some people have been asking, wait a minute, the batteries weren't fully charged. You can see these 2 GPS super batteries will go in the Game Boy Colour. And this is one of my favourite games actually on the Game Boy. If you ever play this, it's not that well known. Top ranking tennis. It's one of my favourite sports games. Gonna go on. There you go, top ranking tennis is running there. Last couple of batteries to test over here. Okay, those 2 are good. Duracells in that Game Boy, original Game Boy, dot matrix screen. I know that's going to last way longer than the others from previous tests. I think the Game Boys, they last a number of days. Whether we follow the test through for that long, I'm not sure. So we'll get our Game Boy working on. It's got some old batteries from our previous battery test. We'll pop those out of the way. We've got our brand new ones. They don't drop them on the floor. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I remember getting this when it first came out with Tetris. That was quite a long time. I think I must have been about 16 in school. Which tells you how old I am. Contrast, where's contrast? We'll put contrast up. Nice. Getting all these out made me actually feel like I wanted to play them. So there's those 3 battery powered ones. We've got our Game Boy Advance SP, but this isn't just any old Game Boy Advance. If you look at the back here, can I find it? You see that where it says AGS 101, which means it's the Game Boy Advance that had the updated screen. So when they released the Game Boy Micro, there's a new screen in there, and the Game Boy Advance just before that had an updated screen as well. And you can tell that because not only does the screen look super bright, but you have a number of brightnesses. If I can get my game working, come on. Blowing in there. I feel like I've gone back in time. Come on, work, work, work. There you go. Let's get it to the home screen. Advanced Wars, it's nice. As I was saying, you've got different brightnesses. Put that up here. So dim, bright, dim, bright. Whereas on the original Game Boy Advance, you didn't have that. It was just off or on or off. So there you go. Game Boy Advance SP. Next one here, Game Boy Micro. I love the Micro. The form factor of the Micro is really, really nice. We've got Super Mario World in here. Now you can change the brightness on this. I think this has got a volume here. Turn the volume down. But if we hold a shoulder button, you can see it goes brighter and dimmer. And actually, the screens on this Game Boy Micro, the screen on this Game Boy Micro is really bright. You can see the camera having to adjust. There you go. We'll pop him here. So we've got our PSP. Not played it for quite a while. Just pop into settings on this one because I just want to make sure it's got its settings correct. So system settings. Is it in here? Where do we have to put battery information? That's not it. Date and time, power saving. So backlight auto dim is off, auto sleep is off, power save is off. Connected display, sound security, that's off.
And like with all these, what I'm going to do is turn the wireless LAN on. I think I just turned it off. So the Wi-Fi will be off on these. So that, no, sorry, the Wi-Fi will be on these so that you can see that they compare similarly. And so we're kind of looking at what is the least battery time for most of these, because most of the settings are on high in terms of brightness. So if I just go here, there's a brightness control, isn't there? So brightness is right up high here. We've got Wi-Fi on, Bluetooth on. But on the Vita, you can't stop it auto-dimming. So we've had to put a little bit of tape on this stick so it's constantly pushing. So that keeps it on. Because when I was setting this test up, I realised that that wouldn't work. So now we're going on to the DS's. Where should we start? So let's start with the original 3DS. Sorry, original DS. Nice black back, black case. I remember again queuing up for this when it first came out. So we've got a system menu here, brightness. Gonna keep on. I was just wondering about the Wi-Fi. So if I go into here, does that mean the Wi-Fi starts working? So I guess it's on anyway. Whoops. Shut it down. I need to turn this volume down because it's going to drive me crazy. So that's all on. We'll switch that on. Leave it on its system menu. Come in here for the DS Lite. I love the DS Lite. Do you remember when we changed from the old sort of fat DS to the DS Lite, and it was just like a revelation? I remember videos on YouTube, people being like, "Wow, look at how amazing this is!" The sort of the sheen, the sort of production finish of it. We've really not seen before in a handheld device. It was the sort of thing that would have been a reserve of Apple. But coming to the DS, you can see here it's got 3 brightnesses. So, oh, is it 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to keep that maximum brightness, as we've said. And then we moved on to the DSi. So you had the front-facing camera, slightly better form factor, bigger screen for the size of the console, but largely the same. You had those download gains and the... Well, it wasn't the eShop, was it? It was something else. Something similar to the eShop. How do I get to my settings and brightness? So let's check system settings. Brightness settings. There you go, so 5. Does it have sort of battery dimming? I don't think it does. So we'll return to the menu. There you go. Now we're over to the 3DS area here. Not sure where we should start. We can start on the 2DS. So of course the 2DS doesn't have that 3D feature, which kind of makes a slight mockery of the name, but it does run all the 3DS games. And I like it. And I like this form factor. You can sort of see inside, see all the workings. Just as we start up. Of course these systems have more to do because they're driving more of an OS in them. This obviously hasn't been played for a while, so we're just going to quickly go through the setup. We'll just click the defaults on these. So just want to get in and get started. Okay. Right, where's the volume? Let's turn the volume off. I go for Albania. Does that matter, I wonder? There you go. Internet settings. Set that later. We'll leave the Wi-Fi on. We're not going to set parental controls at this stage. Thank you. We'll go for later. Press home. So we should get our home page now. And again, we need to check the brightness, check the Wi-Fi is working. So the brightness. Okay, brightness is on, is maximum, Wi-Fi is on. So there you go. I think that's all set to go. We've then got the original 3DS, the one that launched. I remember going to events to see this, and again, the surprise here was the 3D screen, and everyone was rather sceptical that it would work. Now, it didn't make a massive difference, but it did make a difference, and it did work. Pop into the settings. So screen brightness is high, power saving we're going to say off, so we want to keep these all on maximum, and Wi-Fi is on. So there you go. Straightforward. And then moving over to the new 3DS. Pop that on the front here. You get that boots up. Again, we're just going to check in here. What does that say? Brightness on, auto brightness off, power saving off, wireless on. There you go. Straightforward. Now this is an unusual one. It's a new 3DS. No, it's not. Sorry, it's not. It's an original large 3DS XL. But can you notice something strange about it? It's got a massive battery. So there's lots of these third-party replacement batteries. This is the biggest of them all, and this should give us a massive boost. I think it's got 3 or 4 times the battery of an original 3DS. So if we turn it on, we can get this set up. Check that brightness is up and everything. Over here, so brightness, power saving off. Okay. So there you go. That's our large 3DS with a big battery. We've then got some iPads here, and I thought it'd be fun just to put the iPads in. That might take a little while to boot up. Oops. Just as a comparison, and particularly with the Switch, because you're looking at a device which is a similar form factor to the Mini. This is our iPad Mini here, you can see. It's bigger, but it's a similar sort of size. So in terms of screen size, this is driving a much bigger screen than these other devices. So in terms of battery power, it's going to use those up. While these 3 are booting up, that's a bit, show my age there. We've also got some old iPods. So this is like I think it's generation 2 iPod Touch. And we just got it on. Just make sure that the wireless Wi-Fi is on. It's not connected, that's fine. Brightness is maximum and auto brightness is off. So I'll pop in there. And we've got slightly newer, but still sort of long in the tooth, iPod Touch. We use these to play Space Team. This is what we've hung on to these for. So let's put Wi-Fi on, Bluetooth on, and brightness. Maximum auto brightness off. If you've not played Space Team, it's well worth a look. Wait a minute, did I just put that to sleep myself, or did it? I need to leave it on so it's displaying that. I just noticed something here. It's on this iPod. It's so old, it doesn't have Bluetooth. Crazy. So here's our. Take this off the screen so you don't see my password. Here we go. So pop into our settings somewhere. We've borrowed some of these devices from friends and family. We're not lucky enough to have these all ourselves. So, excuse me. So Wi-Fi is on, is connected. Bluetooth is on. Brightness we want. Maximum brightness, turn that off. Now somewhere is auto lock. Not now, thank you. Auto lock, never. So that should do it. That should stay on now. We'll soon see if it goes off or not. Look at this. This is I think an iPad 2, iPad 3. That's really big and heavy, but we still use it a lot. Still a lot of games we play, and my son plays this. It's become kind of his iPad. So you can see it's a bit of a crazy mess, but if we can work out how to use this. So again, connected, Bluetooth on, brightness maximum, auto brightness off. And now where's this general lock? Lock 15 minutes? No, we want it on never for this test. Now I think these iPads are going to suffer because, whoops, knock it down the back of the table. They've got massive screens, so any of them have got a disadvantage. It is these iPods. iPads. Keep saying iPods. And so finally here we've got a iPad Air. Okay, and just pop this in. So let's just see what we've got here. So the iPad Air is much thinner, but the battery technology is better. So we've got Wi-Fi on. Let's put Bluetooth on. We're going to have all these settings that we can switched on. And what are we doing? Yes, brightness, maximum. Turn that off. Auto lock, never. There you go. That's pretty good. So go back to our home screen there. At the back. Now, are they all on? So, we've got pretty much every system up and running apart from the one that this is all about, which is the Nintendo Switch. Now, these are going to be out soon, or maybe when you're watching this, they are now out. I think it's going to be a big success. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, so to speak. So, on the Switch, if we go into settings, right down to, brightness first. So brightness is maximum, auto brightness is off, so it should stay screen lock. Turn that off. I don't think we need that, but might as well turn it off while we're there. Sleep mode. So we never wanted to go into sleep because we want to test it staying on as if you were using it. We're not going to be playing a game, so you wouldn't get this sort of performance with a game, but the idea is it's a comparison, like for like, of all these different systems. So click OK. And we'll just leave it on the home page there. Wi-Fi is connected. So there you go. What we're going to do, we're going to bring a clock in now. We'll pop that on the desk. And then I think we're ready to start our battery test. Now my predictions are, I think the ones that will last the longest are over here. Gameboy Colour, probably this Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Colour. I think this GBA isn't going to do so well because of the really bright screen. The Micro might be okay, it's got a bright battery. So then, I think after these have gone, we'll start seeing the older DS's go because of their age. And then I think we'll start seeing the new 3DS's go. And then probably around that time we'll see these iPods suffering. Then maybe on to the Vita. Maybe the Switch comes in around then, we'll see. And I think last of all will be these iPads at the back. So they've got these really big batteries. Well, last of all, apart from these old non-lit versions of the Game Boy. So, as I said, I'll get a clock in, and we're going to get this started. I'm actually pretty excited. So, you all set? Let's go.
So it's interesting to see how the new Nintendo Switch fares against these other consoles. Of course, there's been a variety of use in the family, and also there's a variety of screen sizes and brightnesses, and also how much battery each one is packing. But the Switch certainly does itself proud, outlasting the majority of the consoles here that we are testing. Now we stopped the filming here because these other consoles just lasted so long, and that big Mugen powered new 3DS at 15 hours and 2 minutes. You've got the GBA at 29 hours at 10 minutes, the original Game Boy at 31 hours, but king of them all is the Gameboy Colour at 35 hours 18 minutes. But I think the real story here is just how long the Nintendo Switch lasted, outdoing a whole load of other handheld consoles. Of course, the Switch is designed to be a home console as well, and when in the dock that will ensure it is charged. And I think for families that's going to be a big benefit because it should mean that it's more often charged when you need it. But we've really enjoyed having a look back down memory lane at these various systems, and also seeing how they perform alongside those iPads there. But looking back at things like that original DS and this old 2DS here made us want to get them out and play some of their old classic games too. We're certainly looking forward to getting more time with the Switch and having a look at some games there, but I hope this was useful. This is our sort of third really big battery test on the channel. We will link the other battery tests we've done in the past with a variety of consoles and handhelds here with a card at the end. If you'd like us to do other tests, then let us know, and certainly we'll have a look at those. Pop in the comments what you think of the Nintendo Switch battery. Is this what you expected? Did you think it would outlast the PS Vita? Did you expect it to outlast those iPads? I think it's pretty impressive. Is this enough battery to keep you going? Of course, we'll get a different performance when we're playing games on the Switch, and equally on these other systems too. So I think that's all we've got time for, but keep it locked to the channel, subscribe, and you'll know when we've got other battery test, other Switch content coming up for you shortly. But for now, thanks for watching, and we will be back soon.